Chef Rashaunda Grant is a chef, an entrepreneur, and the owner of the Carolina Cookery, specializing in Gullah Geechee cuisine. In fact, she just opened a cooking studio on James Island. I talked one-on-one with the chef about the cooking studio and what else she's working on right now for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Chef Rashaunda Grant, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Hey, thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly. Needless to say, you are a chef and an entrepreneur with your sought-after business, the Carolina Cookery, as you know. You're also a Master Chef Season 10 semifinalist and the 2022 Heinz Black Kitchen Initiative awardee. So tell me, Chef, what are you dishing out these days?
So I actually am now teaching people how to dish up their own deliciousness. I recently opened a cooking studio here on James Island, so people can kind of see behind me, but you can come in and take your own cooking classes and learn how to make a lot of traditional Gullah Geechee cuisine and other delicious dishes.
So let me ask you this, Chef. Why the cooking studio? Why now?
So there's a meme going around. I don't know if you heard. It's like a little sound bite. It's like, we're losing recipes, and we are, especially in terms of culture. And it's like, I love that we're becoming so immersed and everybody's eating from different cultures and different backgrounds. But my grandma did not grow up making tacos. I think a lot of Black people might be like, did your grandma make tacos? Probably not. But that's what we're doing a lot in our homes, and we're losing some of these more traditional soul food recipes. And you can go out to a restaurant and eat these things, but how do we incorporate it back into our homes and back into our lifestyles? So I think cooking classes and actually teaching people how to make some of these things is really important in terms of cultural preservation, but also it's fun. I like cooking. It's a great life skill. I find it to be enjoyable. And I think if you're learning from somebody who likes doing what they do, then it might make it more enjoyable for you. And I get to talk to people about Gullah Geechee culture and kind of help them to understand some of the influences and just the history and the culture and the amazing culture behind a lot of these foods and a lot of the dishes.
What is the state of the Gullah Geechee culture from a cooking perspective?
From a cooking perspective, we popping off. Like, from a culinary perspective, Gullah Geechee cuisine has really influenced, Gullah Geechee culture influences a lot of the food and the cuisine that you see in the South, particularly here in Charleston, where I live. A lot of the cooks in these kitchens at some of these great restaurants are Gullah Geechee people. But it doesn't always get the prominence, and it's not getting the context that it deserves. People come, and I love tourists. I love working within the tourism industry in Charleston, and you're coming and they're enjoying these foods, but they may not learn or have the opportunity to learn the story behind it, because that's just not what happens in a traditional restaurant setting. So unless they have the opportunity to visit or attend one of our food festivals and really interact with chefs, they're just enjoying a delicious meal and going back home and then thinking about it forever. So I think helping people understand like some of the context and the history behind these dishes, and also how to make them, they don't just take the recipe home, they take the information, they take the knowledge, and they take the understanding as well.
How, from your perspective, with your background and your platform, how do you then put that context into a full display when it comes to cooking?
I'm sorry, how do I put it in a what display?
Yes, ma'am. Let's talk about that context. How, with your platform that you have as a chef, how do you then use that context to actually display these foods?
So one, it starts with the recipes that I choose to make and teach. I do a lot of rice dishes because rice is very big in Gullah Geechee culture, and also telling them about like the history and the cultivation of rice and how that influenced Gullah Geechee people being in the Low Country today. I'm also sourcing a lot of my products locally, which is really awesome and amazing that I get to do in this space. So I can talk to them about the farmers who are growing rice that I now use in this class and their history and the cultivation of what they're doing there. So also and then really talking to people about the historical context, just factually speaking, of who was growing this rice, where they were growing this rice, what types of rices they were growing, and being able to show it. I've got different rices that I have sourced from different local purveyors. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to leave anybody out. but letting people like see and touch and feel, and this is what a Carolina Gold rice looks like. This is what a rice looks like from Sierra Leone. This is what just store-bought rice looks like. So it's a very interactive experience, and that's how it presents. Like while we're waiting for the rice to cook, we're talking about and learning from and getting to touch and feel and see these different races.
A better question is this, Chef. What is missing from that context when you think of the Gullah Geechee cuisine?
Um, There's so much because that's the other part is I'm focusing just on a sliver of the culture, right? So I do have a space and I've got some art from Gullah Geechee artists. I've got little nods to Gullah Geechee culture with my blue glass bottles here on the side and the Haint blue trim. So I'm infusing a lot of culture around us, but still there's culture in song, there's culture in language, there's culture in art, there's culture in community. So I think I can only give so much, but when they come, I don't want them to think that they're getting the holistic experience of all things Gullah Geechee. But I feel like I'm doing my part to expose them to the food culture and some of the art and some of the food ways and some of the traditions. But I think the biggest thing that's missing is just community. If you really want to experience and learn from a people and a culture, the best thing you can do is just immerse yourself in that community whenever the opportunity presents itself.
What do you want to immerse yourself with next when it comes to the community and food?
Well, this is a big undertaking. Every time I do a big thing, people are like, so what's next? This is the big thing. We just got the space up and running in February. So I really want to continue doing that. The one thing that I am excited about, in addition to having the space for the Carolina Cookery, I've also had the opportunity to partner with a couple other local organizations to host cooking classes at their location. The Avery Research Center has been a really amazing partner. So I've been doing several student groups there, which for me is just a wonderful experience. My great-grandfather attended Avery. My grandfather attended Avery when it was still a school for African Americans. And now for me to go back and be in that space and teaching people about the culture and the history of the food and the people is just really an amazing opportunity. I've had a fantastic opportunity to work with Charleston County Public School Districts or Charleston County School, specifically with educators who may not be from Charleston, who may not have information, or, for them, Gullah Geechee culture and language and the dialect may be different. So just helping them get exposure to the culture and the culture of the students that they are teaching. So that has been a wonderful partnership as well. So I want to continue doing that and just introducing people to our culture through food.
Speaking of that food, Chef, when it comes to the Gullah Geechee cuisine, what are people requesting to try and actually eat these days?
So I always jokingly say that I do a lot of like the B-side tracks, which is probably telling my age a little bit because who even knows what a B-side is anymore? But instead of like thinking forward, I'm thinking backwards in terms of food. So I recently, this past winter, I did a lot of what we call soup bunch. Down here is a very I don't know, something my grandma used to make all the time. So like rutabagas and cabbage and just all those miscellaneous greens that may have been left at the end of the season and putting them together in a bunch, in a soup bunch. So I was able to do that a few times. Again, sourcing through local farmers and being like, this is what we got ready to harvest. I'll take it. We cook it. It's awesome. And people are really, really enjoying that. The compliment I get a lot is, this reminds me of something my grandmother used to make. And that's the compliment that I'm seeking. This should be a nod back to culture. It should taste like home. It should taste like nostalgia. It should bring back memories. So people aren't necessarily requesting it because you don't know to ask for what you don't know. But once they get it, they want it again. I have had some requests to come bring that back. Can we have that again? And it's also amazing because I was able to source a lot of those vegetables and things locally from Fresh Future Farms and then other local farmers. So, and it was a trip to Fresh Future Farm that reminded me that this is how we used to cook food to begin with. It wasn't just all unilateral. You just made what you had. So,
yeah. And I just had Jermaine Jenkins on Quintin's Ghost up about Fresh Future Farm a couple of weeks ago, so people can check that out on YouTube. But what foods that, growing up, let me say here in Charleston. I grew up here on the east side of Charleston, so we grew up on a whole lot of things: red rice, stewed chicken, baked
Yep.
chicken, macaroni and cheese, things like that. What foods from your past, chef, do you want to incorporate with the new style of food that you have here in the Low Country now, especially with these restaurants that are cooking up so many tremendous things these days?
There. I'm bringing back again a heavy influence on vegetables and fresh produce. I don't think people remember just how veggie intense our diet was. I was very accustomed to eating veggies every day, so just really highlighting local vegetables. I think we forget. I get a lot, not say pushback. I think we get a lot of pushback on pork because so many people are getting away from pork now or wanting to. But I'm like, we have some really amazing hog farmers here in the Low Country who, like, this ain't your average sausage. Like, this sausage, the sausage is fresh. It was made with love. So really getting people to understand, like, it's everything in moderation. So I have a whole class where we talk about pork and the influence of pork in the Low Country and how to use pork in different dishes. I do make a lot of some stewed chickens. I do okra soup a lot because I think that's just like I think it's like the quintessential Gullah Geechee dish. It's really like okra soup just shows all the influences that go into it. We do a lot of red rice. What else? Grits galore, and then showing that in many different ways. And then a lot of fresh fish and fresh seafood, I think should absolutely be on the roster. I can go on and on. I'll make you hungry. But even then, things that we forget about, like, smothered turkey wings. Not Murray's Legacy Meats just had their grand opening. I'm gonna go get me
Yes.
some. I'm gonna go get me some. I'm still trying to find a way to incorporate that into a dish that is other than a links on a plate with some reds with some mustard. But I'm gonna find a way to make it like a whole dish, and it's gonna be a hit.
Yes.
Rice pudding is something that a lot of people forget about, but it's not liver pudding. It's not the things that you're getting in other places. Like, our rice pudding is very different and it's delicious, and I want y'all to try it. So just those kind of things. Like I said, the things that you ate all the time that maybe you forgot about. Like, I've never seen eggs and rice on anybody's menu, but it should be exactly because we eat it. I'm not too proud to act like I never had egg and rice with a little sausage. So these are, when I say, like, that's the type of thing. And I mean, I've done that class because that was a class that I specifically did with a group of teachers, because it's one thing to think that your children are, before they're coming to school, that everybody wakes up, has a bowl of cereal, maybe has some food, and they come to class. No, your kids are starting their day very differently. They're starting their day with a dish that looks like egg and rice, and then come to class. Like, they live in a different culture, in a different environment, and they're probably speaking differently too and reading differently. So that's, in terms of context, when you go to teach young children, the assumption is that we are American and therefore our cultures are the same, and we tend to discount or discredit Gullah Geechee culture. So that's why I do the work I do. And it's like, even something as simple as like egg and rice for breakfast just puts you in that frame of mind of like, oh, this is different. And I would have never thought to eat this for breakfast, but that's normal to them. So it's like, yeah, this is a different culture and it should be appreciated, and really making sure that people are coming at it from that lens.
I just had eggs and rice for dinner just a week ago, and I just had okra soup last night for Easter, about Easter leftovers. So
Good. It's fantastic. It's a hit.
yes,
I got some in the fridge too.
yes. Oh, there you go. There you go. When it comes to the Gullah Geechee cuisine, chef, what else is being discredited that you want to actually take and make credible now?
There is this notion that I'm trying to think of how to phrase it. And I don't know if this is really something that people believe or if it's just like rage bait on the internet, but that soul food is somehow less healthy, or that it is somehow less than other forms of cuisine. And as someone who has been trained as a chef as well, but also trained by my grandma, my aunties, and them, I can assure you that the level of care, quality, ingredients, and cuisine that is going into a lot of our traditional Gullah Geechee dishes are the same thing that's going into some of these fancier braised French, blah, blah, blah. It's just the terminology and the words that we're using to describe it. If I can give you a Southern braised smothered turkey wing, Oh, these are confit turkey wings on it, so and so. But it's the same. Your grandma was doing the same thing. It's the same technique, maybe with a
Yes.
slightly different name. So I think the notion that the food is somehow less than, or that it's less technical, or that it takes less effort than other forms of cuisine is just, I don't know. It's a common misnomer and a common misbelief, because as I'm teaching these Southern dishes, I'm still teaching a lot of classic and tradition and technique that you will use in any 5-star kitchen.
What technique do you want to use next with these 7 foods?
Ooh. I I love tweaking different preparations of things. We're getting into the summer season, so of course it's time to like grill outdoors and bust out the smokers. This is an excellent time to start smoking and preserving things. So that's a skill set that I personally want to work on and continue to build, is just being a better grill master, smoker, etc. Being a better smoker just sounds funny to say, but just like not like that kind of smoker,
Right.
but being a better.
Right.
Because again, that is a very, very like that is a very traditional form of food cooking and preparation, is being able to smoke things over the fire, both as a way of preserving food but imparting flavor. And again, now we've got all these fancy smoke guns, and I've got a little fancy smoke chamber that I can put on a thing. But it's like, no, go outside, cut some wood, light a fire.
Yeah.
So when I say I want to focus, like, now I want to do it the right way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This might be a redundant question, Chef, but what exactly is the art of cooking these days?
Um, it's different for everyone, right? And I think so. Cookery literally means like the art and style of cooking. So when I think of Carolina cookery, I think of slow cooking. I think of braising. We don't do a lot of like, if you think of like Asian style cookery, there's a lot of fast cooking. There's a lot of stir fries. They're going high heat, short amount of times. If you're thinking of Italian cookery, they're boiling pasta, they're cooking down sauces. You see French cookery, you think of like, your celery and carrots, a lot of fresh herbs, different flavor profiles, of course. So in terms of like the arts and style, I think there is, and now even technology has come into play, right? There's like gastronomy. You can make food be something that it's not. You can put a smoke chamber and dry ice and all kinds of things. So all of these are different preparation techniques. And I think there's some areas where the crossover is beautiful and amazing. And it's like, I would have never thought to do that with this, but that's delicious and I love it. And then there are some other areas where it's like, leave that alone. Let them people keep that. So I think finding your own area. Mine tends to lean more towards older methods. Again, I'm cooking things a lot slower. We're braising things. We're taking our time. We're using the fresh. I don't say the freshest ingredients I can get my hands on when I can't get my hands on it. And then also I think for my style of cooking and cookery, it's also using what you have and what you have access to. So I say it a lot, but sourcing things locally is a big part of the cooking that I'm doing.
What is that one cooking style or cooking method, Chef, that you said, hey, I'm not going to touch at all?
Now, I'm never saying never. Never. I'm gonna try it. I'll try it a few times. I don't think there's a place for gastromolecular anything in my Southern food. I'll be honest with you. You will not see me making a mulberry gelée preserved caviar thing. Probably not. I don't know that that's what people are wanting when they're coming for Southern cuisine, but I'm trying. You got it. If I had all the tools and supplies, I want to give it a try. I'll try anything just about once when it comes to making good food.
Speaking of making good food, Chef, which food describes you personally?
No, Lord. That okay. This is a terrible metaphor. I don't even know. I hope this doesn't get edited. You might edit this out. You can edit this out if you want to. I'm sorry. I don't even want to tell this anymore. But the first thing that came to mind when you asked, it was like, I'm like biting into an oatmeal cookie and then realizing it was a chocolate chip cookie. And then an hour later, realizing that chocolate chip cookie was in fact an edible. That was that that fits. I think a lot of people might think I'm an oatmeal cookie, and that's cool. I like it. But an hour later, you're gonna find like, and then you get to know me. You'll be like, oh, we love chocolate chip. That's great. An hour later, you're gonna be like, this was a trip. So probably to my detriment, right? Because you're like, you were not expecting that when you got that oatmeal cookie. So, surprise.
Yes.
But it's all a good time and nobody gets hurt.
There you go. That's the most important thing. Yes, indeed. Yes. Well, Chef Rashaunda Grant with the Carolina Cookery, thank you for your time again. Welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome.